continuing with chapter 11, the baby Jesus. The 2 burns on my forehead are from the electric shock therapy. Am I forgetting one? I had my appendix removed. Sheesh, what a mess. God forbid I'm ever that foolish as well, but I do make my own share of mistakes, said Lucero. Pointing to her chin, she said, "This is one of my newest scars." You sneeze. You're the closest person near the camera. This is one of my newest scars. I got it last year. Mother said not to run into the bathroom because the floor was wet, and I did it anyway. I broke my shin. Remember? Blood was everywhere. I got even a couple of stitches. She sure cursed like a pirate too. It was really unpleasant to watch. It sounded like they were killing you. They might as well. They did not even use anesthesia or anything. It was quite dreadful to see the sewing needle and the thread going into your face and feeling your skin being close together like it's a piece of fabric. I shudder just thinking about it. Is the time running?
Yeah, it's running. It's just that you pronounce the wrong chin.
Shin?
Yeah, it's shin.
Shin.
Yeah, the one that you said.
Okay, moving on. Lucero then raised her leg to show a latch on top of her face. She explained, "You remember a couple of months ago I was in a wheelchair? Yes, it was pretty depressing to watch," said Judah. "Well, it happened like this. Mom was taking me on her bike to her workplace, and she kept telling me to keep my feet out of the railing of the bike. So since I didn't know what a railing was, my legs just kept flaying around not knowing where to put them. Anyhow, as you can imagine, I found what the railing or spoke was, and then it just messed up my leg. So then it was back to the hospital," said Lucero, passing her hand over her crazy mane of hair. With the other hand, she held onto the ceramic baby Jesus. She added, "I have a couple of surgical scars here and there, but there's not an interesting story behind it." "It must be dreadful to be sick, isn't it?" said Judah, somewhat melancholic. In spite of pretending to be sad, he could not help but have a smile painted on his face. "One gets used to it," said Lucero. This phrase caused Judah to feel dreadful for real. Lucero, changing the subject, said, "Don't make a big deal about it. I'm going to get cured for real, like real soon. There is going to be a saint visiting in San Rosendo, and when he puts his hands on me, I will get cured for real. If that doesn't work, the experimental treatment might actually take effect. I would prefer if Jesus cured me and not the doctor," said Lucero. "How so?" "Well, if the treatment works, then it means more tests to see why it works. I worry that they might try and put on a different disease on me, and then I'm gonna spend as a lab rat forever, or at least until I die like all of the other children," said Lucero. "How can you be certain that they are dead?" asked Eufrasio. "Well, one day they're there, and the next day they were not. And at night you hear people sobbing in the lobby. People don't cry over good news, do they?" "Well, they might cry, but also laugh too. I don't really like being in the hospital," said Lucero. "Well, at least your sickness has a treatment. Problems of the mind do not have cures in this country. All they can do is fry your brain until you behave in a way that is convenient for everyone." "What is Mazorra like?" asked Eufrasio. "I don't know. The time I spent there, I was like out of it. I do remember coming back home and my body was pure ribs. It took a lot of time for me to regain my strength." "Why do you ask?" "No reason," lied Eufrasio. Lucero did know the reason. Madness ran in the family. Irina's uncle was often seen roaming the street with his dog. He had lost his wife due to his taxidermy hobby, and one time he got in a fight with a rabid dog. His best known antics were decapitating a dog to make a walking stick out of his head. He would run the streets with it, and as his madness progressed, he drew further and further away from his family. Eufrasio too thought he was going insane. When he listened to classical music, he smelled cinnamon. Other times when he smelled perfumes, he saw color. These were common symptoms of synesthesia, but Eufrasio did not know what it was. He simply thought he was losing his grip on reality. There were also occasional visual hallucinations, but they had external reasons as well. He also had teeth and color blindness, but this did not bother him in the least, as it was just a change in the way that the objects were perceived. Judah was familiar with how with how crazy people dodge around the questions. Still, he hoped it was just a matter of overactive imagination. Though he never understood how imagination worked exactly. What features were considered imagination and what others fell under the realm of childhood schizophrenia. In the end, he decided to dismiss the matter altogether. Changing the subject, he said, "You should put the baby Jesus back in his box. You haven't dropped it, but it could happen any minute, considering everything you told me." "Well, you do have a point," said Lucero, listening to reason. She started walking back, but a slight wind came and moved her hair. The rough edges scratched her shoulder a bit, and this scared her. Flinching forward, she yelled, "Jesus Christ!" She lost her grip, and she dropped the heavy statue. The baby Jesus was decapitated. Frowning, she said, "Oh, poop. This is all your fault, Judas." "Why me?" asked Judas. "It's your negative attitude. You jinxed me, and now the baby Jesus will never grow up to die in the cross," said Lucero, kneeling down to grab the head. Eufrasio came over and he said, "Maybe we can just glue it back together." "Do you have some glue?" asked Lucero. "No," said Eufrasio. "And you?" started saying Lucero when she noticed that Judas had left. Close to dusk, Lucero brought the baby Jesus to Irina. With a sad face, she said, "Eufrasio dropped the baby Jesus." "Is this true, Eufrasio?" asked Irina. "Yes," said Eufrasio, taking the blame for what his sister had done. He was always in the habit of doing so, even when people knew he was not even in the general vicinity. Irina stared long and hard at the statue. Eventually she sighed and said, "We can just glue his head back on. It is a good thing he's made of stone and not flesh. A broken stone head can be repaired. A flesh one cannot." "Well, run along then," said Irina. Eufrasio then left to the kitchen to do his homework. He was working on memorizing a poem. Lucero had a similar assignment, but she was putting it off till morning before having to do her recitation. She had learned that if she ate something sweet before memorizing something, she could easily recite it afterward. This method got the job done, but it would so happen that she would immediately forget the poem she had just memorized. For Lucero's brain, most of everything she learned in school was useless and not worth retaining. By the end of the school year, she would have forgotten almost everything, including the students and the names of the teacher. Anyhow, instead of trying to memorize her little Jose Marti poem, Lucero was tackling Volume 2 of The Three Musketeers. She had seen her father read the book recently, and he had finished it rather quickly as well. Lucero imagined that it might be a good easy read. She read a couple of paragraphs into the book before becoming completely bored. The night was spent quite at ease, but for reasons nobody in the family understood, Irina seemed melancholy. Oh yeah, we still have time?
Yeah, we have 6 minutes and 34 seconds.
Irina was thinking about her firstborn son. Before Angelica's older sister was born, Irina had her first son, Juan Carlos. She had been suffering from depression after his birth. When she gave her son away to an aunt, she offered her son to the aunt in a picnic basket. Years later, she went to Spain to see how her son was doing. Juan Carlos did not speak to his mother. Rather, he gave her this baby Jesus inside the picnic basket he had been abandoning. With this kid said it all, and since then Irina had never tried to speak to her son, Juan Carlos. Alright, we're now in chapter 12, the fireworks. See, we're like making good progress today.
Alright, 5 minutes.
It was early summer and another school year ended. The children were finally free to do as they desired. It was during the summertime that the carnival was usually held. Carnival, not the carnival. The days vary from region to region. This was in part due to the Cuban government's desire to remove all religious connotation from the carnivals. And so this event no longer took place during the religious holiday. They were usually done by an institution for a specific purpose or other. This year the parents felt like the kids were old enough to see one. Irina did not bother to go to the carnival because after seeing it for quite some time, it had lost its novelty. The children and the players and the parents sported sleeveless shirts and shorts. Shortcitos. This was done to cope with the heat. For some reason, during Carnival, there was never any breeze from the ocean. With so many bodies and masses, it was guaranteed that by the time you got home, the family would be dripping in sweat. Slowly, from other houses started emerging all of the performers. To the children, the faces were both strange and familiar. One of the faces I recognized was Mamadou. He was playing the drums dressed in a colorful costume. The checkerboard pattern alluded to the mad harlequin, but the Caribbean elements created the structural dissonance with the European-looking costume. The Cuban carnival had been performed since the 16th century. During those festive days, the slaves and their descendants were allowed to practice their cultural tradition. Over the centuries, the African traditions and the Spanish-European ones blended into the carnival of today. Still, some aspects remain immutable. It always started at sunset, with the main performers coming out of their homes to meet the others in La Calle Real or the Royal Road. Soon the beating of the drums and the show was allowed to start. The floor stood up in dazzling lights. There were pillars that towered over the neoclassical Spanish buildings that littered La Calle Real. The children noted the dancers, the lights, and the fun. And since the spectators and trance also started dancing as they saw the floats passing by. On top of each of them there was the main dancing lady. Back when she was in school, Angelica had been one of the main dancing girls on top of the floor of her school. When she had told Lucero this, naturally the girl asked how one was chosen. Angelica invented a story about a rigorous dancing competition. The reality was as simple as one just put your name on it. The head of the institution arranged for all of the positions, and one simply had to follow in suit to be allowed to participate. When the main float arrived, it was steamed after a papaya. In the middle of the fruit, there was a lady dancing. This caused a lot of giggles and hooting for plenty of Cuban reasons. The fire was still okay. Anyhow, from the flood, air erupted fireworks. They were plenty cool, but as they started falling down, people instinctively took shelter. The fire was still glowing and landed on the floor. The wood had scorched anyone who had stayed there when the sparks landed. This was not a new occurrence, for as long as Eduardo and Angelica could remember, the fire had always burned people. It was part of the reason why the parade floors shot the fireworks had a canopy. It was usually clear of the dancers and performers, and they knew to stay the hell away from the fireworks. The time, bro?
2 minutes.
Angelica and Eufrasio followed the movement of the fireworks with their eye, and since their parents drew back, they followed in suit. The children who did not were dragged away. This was the first time that the children had seen fireworks, and they were fascinated by them. The celebration ended around midnight, and the people dispersed as the last float passed by. Some followed behind it as it made its final round in La Calle Real. As long as there was music turning, there was still a party to be had. The parents carried the exhausted children back home. When they arrived home, they knocked on the door. Angelica yelled, "Mother, we are home. Open the door." There was no answer. Eduardo added, "This isn't funny. Open the door." After 10 minutes of knocking, Judas came outside and said, "Some people are trying to sleep." Mom fell asleep. "Can you climb on top of the roof and see if you can wake her? Her bedroom is the first window on the left," explained Angelica. "What a bother," said Judas. He did as he was told. Climbing on top of the roof of his own house, he then walked to the roof of the other, and from there he climbed down the antenna to get in the interior garden. Alright, we're gonna continue this later. Bye bye and God bless.